Hello, 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 and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Jameelah, and I'm a master manifester, and I'm sure you are too, because you're watching content like this. The name of this channel is Manifest the Magic the Practical Way, because there are a lot of practicalities for us to manifest the life that we choose. What I'm discussing for this video is going to be a topic that when you're on this path of awakening, when you're on this path of trying to manifest or create the best life that you choose, you meet a lot of people and a lot of entities along the way that may not see growth and expansion the way that you see growth and expansion, or they may not even see growth and expansion at all to some degree. But you have this way of seeing the world, you have this way of viewing your circumstance, you have this way of viewing your life, and it is working for you. So I guess the topic, if I can sum it up perfectly, would be: don't spend 2 seconds explaining your belief system to people who are reluctant to find understanding in it. And you'll know when this happens. Because if you're having a simple discussion about your belief system, what you believe, what you think is creating the beautiful life that you're living or whatever it is, and someone is not inquisitive about it and like, maybe, well, that's an interesting way to see that. Oh, I never thought about that. Or maybe possibly, oh, well, that's an interesting, like, what books do you read to impact that way of thinking or how you see it or whatever. That is what the line of questioning is going to be when someone is seeking and someone is clearly interested in the way that you see the world, and they're impressed that it's working for you, right? Now there's those conversations that you get in with people when it's clear that they don't respect the way that you see the world. They don't respect the way that you decide to live your life. They don't respect the way that you perceive your own personal circumstances. They don't believe in your way of life. And it's perfectly fine. I have no problem with that. But the kind of questionings that'll happen, or the conversation that you'll automatically feel like you're defending something about yourself as opposed to sharing something fun and interesting about yourself, right? And it's a very nuanced behavior. And it's only through me having so many conversations with other people and environments, and always having to explain to people my upbringing, where I come from, all these sort of things. I'm like, oh yeah, my parents were Muslim. They were, this kind of thing, religion. And we were in it for a while. And, my parents are still Muslim to this day. And I have to, I'm like, well, I think that opened my mind to kind of think about life in a very different way than some of my counterparts who were raised very differently from me. Like, they'll start to ask you questions to where they'll try to understand why you have this level of understanding for the world. And they'll also respect what you're creating in the world. And I think that's a huge one. When people show that they respect what you are creating in the world, then they automatically come from you from a perspective of, how are you building that? And like, what do you believe? And it's pretty cool that it's working for you, right? But if they don't respect what you're creating, they're fighting your belief system in the way that you see the world. And they're also fighting the idea that you are being successful in that way that you see the world. And so when you're talking to them, they're not approaching you in a sense of, I respect what you're doing so much, and you've created so many beautiful things in your life. And look at this amazing outcomes that you've had with being a parent, with being an artist, with being a writer, all these different things. Then they come to you with a different mindset. It's just like, oh man, what is it? What do you believe that actually helps you create and push on this level and expand on this level, right? And you'll feel like it is a conversation that is for opening the space, a conversation that is for expanding both you and the person that's receiving what you're saying, a conversation that is meant to grow, as opposed to a conversation where someone is proving or trying to prove to you that your way of seeing things is an incorrect way of seeing things, right? And I can honestly see where this is useful in places where there's a really specific outcome that everybody's trying to get to. And if this specific outcome is not had, and you have your own way of doing things, it's not working because, well, you're not getting the specific outcome. But if you're in environments where there's any type of free flowing ability to think, to do, to be creative and live, and to be an artist, and to expand, and to share what you're great at, and to share what you're into with other people, um, you're not going to find where you are defending where you're defending your way of seeing things, or you're defending your life, or you're defending your mindset, or you're defending your belief system, because you've decided that it's working for you. And I don't need to keep digging into what you're thinking could be a better outcome. If I like my outcomes and I like my life, I don't want your life and your outcomes. And the way you think will get your life and your outcomes. The way I think has gotten my life and my outcomes. And I like my life and my outcomes a lot better, as I should, right? Everybody should like their life and their outcomes to a certain degree. And if you're not, then the conversations that are exploring someone else's life and outcomes should be a lot more exploratory and a lot less convicting of, well, why do you think like that? Why do you want to be like that? And why do you want to see the world that way? It's just like, dude, I like what I've created. I like my life. I like what I have. I like what I have access to. I like where it's headed. So the way that I think has gotten me this far. I'm going to keep on thinking the way that I think until I see some severe mishaps or changes. And I'm just like, I don't know what's happening. Maybe I need to dig a little bit deeper, right? So be careful of that. Don't spend your time having conversations, because this is the thing. Once I notice I'm having a conversation with someone who's what I call a non believer, and when I say non believer, meaning they don't really believe in the non tangible things in the world. They really believe that their effort and activity is getting them everything in the world. And partially that's true, but it's only going to take you so far, right? Like, I'm really embedded in the non tangibles because I believe that is the place where we don't see the energy shifting. We don't see it moving. I know I've walked in rooms and places and I've been around people who are the most miserly, curmudgeon, old, just worst type of personality that you can think of, right? Wouldn't even give a bum a dime. You know what I mean? Like, they're not that kind of person. And for some reason, being in my presence for maybe a little while and having conversation with me and seeing how I operate made these people give me more money than they've ever even handed over the people that they were married to and their own children and relationships. That to me is magic. That is magic, because I don't have the ability to change this man's mind, to convince him to see me differently, to convince him that his money's going in a good place, handing it over to me. You know what I mean? But he was moved by the non tangible, and I will forever be moved by that. I will forever know how magical that situation was that occurred in my life. So, what I mean is that when you find yourself in conversations where you're feeling like you're defending your way of life, just stop it, pull back, pull back and look at, say, this person's results. Do I want those in the way that they've lived their life? Or am I comfortable and happy with the way that I've chosen in my results and what I have in my life? And I think with you, if it's a yes with your own results, is like, don't sit in those conversations for 2 seconds, because all they're saying to the universe is that you don't truly solidly believe in the way that you're creating. You don't solidly believe in universal forces, in the non tangible, in metaphysics, and you're trying to convince other people that they should believe it when you don't even have a solid footing in it, right? Anyway, I hope that was helpful for some people, because I know that being on this path, being spiritually awakened, and tapping into the non tangible aspects of our journey so much is not always useful for a lot of people, right? That's why I love the title of this video, because I'm still manifesting magic. It's still magic. But I do know there's some practicalities that need to be in place for that magic to have space to grow, right? When I see a person, a woman that's pregnant, and I see her carrying this baby, and I see her walking around all nonchalantly about, da 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 da, I'm just making life here, I'm just a vessel for this life to be cultivated. And I'm like, man, that is such a magical experience to have. And if someone is only going to explain the experience by saying the sperm goes into the vagina, the sperm finds the egg, the sperm embeds itself in the egg, the baby starts to grow, the baby comes out 9 months later. Wow, you're missing it. You're missing it. So I'm not going to sit there and have conversations when people are missing it. And you'll know when someone has that flip, that switch on, and when they have it off. Because immediately in your conversation, you'll feel like this feels like more of an attack and a defending, as opposed to, your mind is brilliant and your mind is beautiful. I love the way you think about things. Explain to me more about how that works. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.